Welcome to the Treasury Elite Entrepreneur Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members for supporting this noble cause of Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing, and mentoring. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder and CEO, IFA Global and Treasury Elite. We bring in world-class foreign exchange and treasury practices and automation for export-import companies across India in the last 15 years. Today, we have Mr. Salil Singhal, Chairman, Emeritus, PI Industries Ltd.
PI Industries.
PI. Sorry, sir?
PI Industries.
PI Industries. I'm sorry. Mr. Singhal has been spearheading the company on its growth path since 1979. He is a highly reputed and renowned name in the agrochemical industry. He is a co-chairman of the CII's National Council on Agricultural, besides being the member of its National Council the past 8 years. Singhal was the chairman of the Pesticides Association of India, the Christian Crop Care Federation of India for 20 years, and its chairman emeritus. In the past, he has been the member of the executive committee of FICCI and also the chairman of its environment committee for 5 years. Chairman for Northern region of CII and the chairman of National Council for MSMEs. He has been involved in shaping many agricultural related policy issues and has been addressed many seminars and conferences both in India and abroad. Welcome, Mr. Singhal. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Very well. Thank you very much, Abhishek.
Glad to have you today as a part of our Treasury Elite Entrepreneur Series. In the next 35 minutes, would love to learn from your experience. So my first question to you, sir, is when I interact with a lot of CEOs in India and abroad, there's one common thread which I see across, that after a certain point of time, it is not about the money. I would like to ask you that what is the one single biggest reason for you to get out of bed every single morning and get yourself to work? What is it that drives you today? Or if I may ask, what is your why?
I don't know. Firstly, I don't think I can accept the argument that after a while money didn't matter. In fact, it never mattered the day I joined the business, because I joined the family business or whatever it was, whatever was its size and shape. And we got into work and I didn't look at it, what's there in for me. I looked at it and see, what are we doing? Are we doing it right? Are we doing the things we should be doing for the growth of the business? So I, as a young man, always looked at it as a responsibility to execute. And obviously, any activity you do has some preset rules and understanding. And in business, it is always that it should do well, it should not lose money. It has stakeholders, and maybe the realization or understanding of the word stakeholders was not very much understood in the time I began my career, 1966, 67. But at least within our family, we saw a lot of clarity on doing things right. And that, I think, is the fundamental principle where if you do things right, it serves the larger cause of all stakeholders. So as far as that was concerned, when it comes to getting out of bed, it was always in the good old days, either to catch an early morning flight. That was the biggest priority in your mind. And I must say that I used to live in, my hometown is Udaipur, which is still very much so. And the work and business used to make me run all throughout the country as the business grew. So almost, and the flights used to be early, particularly from Delhi and Bombay to Udaipur. So whether it was 2 degrees Celsius or 45 degrees in the morning in Delhi, one had to rush for a flight leaving home at 4:45. And I'm a late sleeper, so it was always a challenge. And I must say, in the thousands of flights I took, I never missed one. So really, the immediate objective of getting out of bed was to get on to do what you had to do in time.
There's a very famous experience you had with the Japanese conglomerate, which became a changing point in your and your company's career, where you had to take a leap of faith and invest 6 times the initial order value in the factory, which helped you in the later years. I would like you to share this experience for all the young people of today who are often impatient and often perseverance is lacking and they look for overnight success.
Abhishek, I must say you've done a bit of good research on me. Huh? How the hell did you know about that particular?
I appreciate your time, and it's important I read about you.
How did you know about that inflection time in my business career? But you're right, the fact is that, in fact, that's a very significant turning point in the history of the company. And it didn't come that easily either. The whole, and I'm a little fuzzy on the number of years, but it goes back in the late 90s. When we began in the company, we were looking to see how we can grow the business. We were doing only the pesticide business, agrochemicals business, and unlike what we see now, in those days, it was so much subjected to the vagaries of nature. And if there was too much monsoon, we had a problem. Too less monsoon, we had a problem. And in my mind, I kept scratching my head as to what might be our best options. And finally, I thought of an idea. I said, we need to build on our core strengths. And I realized that we had 2 very significant core strengths. And by the way, they're still, if I may say, the foundations of all the business that we are in and all the businesses that we will ever do tomorrow or today. One was the foundation that we had a strong R&D orientation. We had a good research and development team in the area of chemistry. And the other was the tremendous confidence, trust, and faith we enjoyed with all those whom we dealt with. Whether it was customers, whether it was suppliers, or whether it was the employees or people that we worked with. There was always this underlying confidence that this family promoter, this family, is somebody you can totally rely upon and trust. And as business executives, we were also trusted. And we were working with the Japanese companies since 1983-84, where we worked with one of the largest Japanese companies called Kumei Chemicals, whom we represented in India for the import of their technical material, formulation, and selling it to the farmers. And in that 5, 10, 12 years, we built up a very strong relationship of almost 10, 15 years, in fact, where whenever we went for discussions how much we will import, because we had to import, that discussion never took more than 15 minutes. And I always made it a point to go down to Tokyo because it's always good to meet. Thanks to COVID, it's going to change the way we run our businesses now. But in those days, I would go there at least once a year, if not twice. And we just committed on the containers. Price discussion took a little longer. Instead of 5 minutes, it took about 10, 15 minutes. And the business discussion was never more than 15 to 20 minutes. That was the kind of relationship. And we used to buy them from 2 sources. So it was very, very simple. The rest was learning about agriculture, what's happening in countries, regulatory issues, the economy in general, how the progress is being made in India, etc. And that was that if we said 12 containers, it was never 11. Probably it was 14. And that's how we had built a relationship. And that relationship came because in the good old days, even now, there used to be a trading company in between. If you know how Japanese operated, it's now that system is sort of going a little out of order for a variety of reasons, obviously. But those days we had a company called Mitsubishi Corporation, who were the agents for the Japanese company and who had selected us to be their Indian partners. And that also actually happened when they brought them here and they went to see the people in the government of India. They requested for a recommendation which company they should deal with. But we had such a reputation, they said, if you want to deal with a good company, go to this one. And that's why they came to us. That's how it's. We put up the factory, and to our good luck, A, we supplied absolutely good quality, the quality they needed. B, we shipped it in time. But when I looked at the numbers, I was very, very panicked, worried. I never panicked, but I had a concern. $80 was the sale price and the cost of production was 75. Not even that, and it's even slightly ahead of before EBITDA. So no interest, which was borrowed capital, no depreciation. So I said, good God, now what? So my team said, sir, give us time, we'll work it out. I went back, we negotiated business. We got an order, much larger order. I think it was, about 60 tons. We committed to a 60-ton order and we began the production. There the EBITDA cost was at $45. And we really made very good money. Not only it paid back, but two things it did. It taught us a lot of chemistry. You know, we suddenly had a leap in knowledge in chemistry manufacturing because of number of steps involved, number of safety requirements, management of waste material, stoichiochemistry of the chemistry, the yield issues and all that. So there was a huge amount of learning. And the other thing it did was, and we never failed on delivery, we never failed on quality. And to me, there is only one lesson when you work with anybody. Any customer, he only needs three things. He needs quality, he needs timely delivery, and he needs competitive supply. So price, time, and delivery. And we met their price point, we met their delivery, we met their quality. We have done that business with them for now 15, 20 years. I think now the business, I don't even know the numbers because, you know, products have life cycles, particularly in herbicides, and it was a herbicide. So I think that business has reduced. I haven't checked the numbers, but that really built our custom synthesis business. The second thing it did was that at every bag we had to write manufactured by, because this is the requirement of the regulatory authorities of Japan. And they would make the product. This was a product of a pharma company. But they had discovered the herbicide and it became and this was almost 60% of Japanese market. So we were in a very, very sweet spot, as you financial people will say. So we were in a sweet spot, so the business kept growing. It did very well. And we did excellent job in reducing the cost and pro rata offering, not pro rata, but offering a more competitive price despite the fact that we had no pressure to do that. So we shared our profits, if I may say, to some extent. So that built a lot of credibility. And then we got launched. So the question, what made me take that decision? Well, let me tell you, it was not purely intuitive. There was a lot of criteria that we looked at. One was the understanding of the Japanese mind, which was a very important thing. And let me tell you, not many people can understand that. And it's no point in trying to get into that business, because this was a question which was asked once by the Minister of Trade, who was in the Indian Embassy in Tokyo. Later, he became a very good friend and retired as Secretary Government of India. Now he's retired. And he asked me, he said, Salilji, how do you work with these people? So many delegations come, they say it's so difficult to work with the Japanese companies. And I told him, I said, Anu, I find no difficulty. I find it very easy to deal with them. And he would say, but how do you do it? I said, how do I explain it? Why why am I able to do it and why some others are not able? And that is the whole thing, understanding the minds. So so I had a good understanding of the mind, and I could interpret what was going in their minds. The other was the tremendous faith I had in the team that they will manage my cost. And third was my ability to be able to put the money together. Because I'll tell you, Abhishek, even today, if PI has to raise 2,000 crores by way of loans, is literally a telephone call away. I mean, we have just raised 2,000, my son just raised 2,000 crores by way of QIP. We had a 6x bids within 10 days. And this was in the month of June, right in the center of the COVID years. So that's the reputation the company has. It's been there since that time. It was a small reputation, now it's on a bigger canvas. So so it was an informed decision. And third, which is to me the most important criteria, self-confidence, a belief in yourself. If you believe in yourself, if you have that faith that what you're doing is right, that you have all the commitment to do it right, that you will succeed, the only thing that you require in this is a little bit of blessings. If you have the blessings, what I call, all you need here is a little bit of grace of the Almighty, and you cannot fail. So to me, informed decision, faith in your people, and faith in yourself. It works.
Wonderful that you shared, and I'm sure all entrepreneurs, young, old, aspiring at the global map, would have carried a lot of substance from here. In fact, trust with the suppliers, with people around, with employees played a very important role. And one of the common sentences which I often hear you saying is that, trust and integrity is something which takes the company ahead. Business cannot be done by integrity. And you can make an error of judgment, but cannot make an error of intent. That's something which comes out from these Japanese incidents. And of course, faith on something that you're doing for a good cause, you're doing for good business, not because of some ulterior motive. I think that's a very interesting instance that you share. So my next question to you is, success in business, of course, and in life does not happen until you know how to be conscious of your thoughts, have a crystal clear vision, and be extremely flexible like a palm tree. What are your three major learnings over the last many years that you would like to pass on to the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs? And how do these people, they fight the emotions of failure, regret, self-doubt, which time and again comes in the journey of the entrepreneur?
I mean, let's not try and put numbers on this, but I would pick you on the last point you made about failures and success. And I learned this lesson many years ago from my father. I remember I just joined business, maybe about 2, 3, and he was my biggest teacher. I mean, whatever today we are is what he taught us in terms of the very fundamentals of to be a good human being. And this is actually being and my father learned it from his father. As a child, I remember how the value systems were driven in our family, even by my grandfather, and I'll narrate you an incident, I think, which is important for all of us. But talking to you, and I remember about just 2 years in business, and I was working on something, and I succeeded. So I used to have an office on the first floor of our small little office in the factory. I came charging down and I went to his office very excited as a young kid, must be about 28, 25, 30. And I said, Baba, ye ho gaya. And I was working on this, and he said, and he looked at me, smiled at me, he said, oh, I'm so happy. Very good. Kya hua, kaise hua? So, he went into a little details to understand, and it was all right. So I was sitting in front of him. Then he very casually mentioned to me. He said, ek baat kehna cha raha, batata hu tumko. Never get overexcited about your success and never regret your success, failures. So big question mark. He said, देखो बेटा कुछ सीख जब कुछ अच्छा होता है तो ये सोचो कि अच्छा क्यों हुआ, तुमने ऐसा क्या किया that got you that success. And if something fails or doesn't work, then think, what did you do which you should not have done? What went wrong? And ensure that you don't repeat the same mistake the next time. No need to get excited. Success and failure is a part of life's journey. And truly, I think that is the biggest lesson that one can learn in life. And the second lesson is, as I said, is about integrity, transparency. And as I said, it came from the family. And I have found that I've had instances in my life, again, taught by my father, which was this. Once he told me, again, there was a company which did some mischief with us, was not willing to make our payments. And he said that find out. I was very upset. Again, the lesson was repeated. And then he said to me, don't worry, he will pay you. I said, why? He said, ऐसा है, जैसे लोग बेईमानों से डरते हैं, वैसे लोग ईमानदारों से भी डरते हैं. People are scared of the crooked. People are also scared of those who are straightforward. And I'm telling you, Abhishek, this has stood very well in my life. There is a lesson in this point. So if they know that this is not the guy to play the fool around. So this was another very important lesson. And I want to narrate this story after my grandfather, who came from Allahabad after retiring from the UP government services, settled in Udaipur, where my father had begun his business. And his life was a great struggle in those days. I'm talking of 52, 53. So the chief minister of Rajasthan, because my grandfather was very well known for his administrative capabilities, he wanted to rope him in to be the chief secretary of the state of Rajasthan. So he said that, look, I have retired, I'm willing to work, but I will not go out of this house where I live. And by God's grace, we had a good house. And I'll only work within 3 hours, this, that, and the other. Which was fine. So we were sitting in our dining room, and suddenly a call came, and I was asked to rush, and I was a little kid, 6, 7 years of age, asked to rush to get a paper and a pencil. And his office was very next to the dining room. So I rushed there and I got a paper and a pencil, I gave it to him. He didn't write anything on it. He remembered what was to be said. The call was over, the phone was, which was difficult to get phone calls those days, put the phone down. And he said to me, "Ye kagaz leke wapas daftar mein rakh ke aao." So I said, why? He said, "Ye government ka kagaz hai. Ye apna kagaz nahi hai." Because that was the government office. So there was government stationery. Now just imagine the lesson for the 7, 8-year boy like me at that juncture. So that is how we learned our lessons in life.
So very important. Right from the childhood, this value system gets into you, and then slowly and steadily it becomes a part of your DNA. And I'm sure it's a part of DNA of the entire TI group.
So that's, if you begin at this level, you see, ultimately an organization, be it family, be it social organization, be it industry, be it country, is all, you can determine its characteristics by its leadership.
Correct. That's what Japan and Singapore is all about. I mean, if you read the autobiography of Lee Kuan Yew, who was
You,
Prime Minister,
yeah,
read their autobiography, you will understand that how he made Singapore as Singapore and what kind of culture did he imbibe that today also the people of Singapore swear by it.
absolutely.
So many
So
years.
this is what life's lessons are.
Right, right, right. My last question to you, since you shared a lot of things, I'll skip a couple of questions because you covered that. And one fun fact about you, Mr. Singhal, that people do not know.
I don't know what that means, honestly. I really don't know the meaning of that question. But I love to
Funny,
be,
right from your childhood days or your college days, or
I love to pull the legs of people. I am known to be very, I love to, tease people and have fun with them, at them, for them, and to make things a little lively. And and therefore I love to be in good company. I love to spend time with people, and and they know that if I'm there, they have to be careful. I might just end up saying anything.
that's lovely. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking